Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all you brethren, pushing this word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom. All right, to the hopeful elect out there, the 144,000, and the rest of the men, women, and children that will receive mercy from the Lord in these last days. Shalom. All right, I'm the brother Dama Gabar here with another lesson, Lord willing, to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh while Yahweh Shai. All right, and this is an article from Natural News, which I've seen, a few brothers and the apostles, touch on this topic, but, I figure, I have my two spiritual shekels and, go into this article as well. As it says, the DOD, which is the Department of Defense, shreds all remaining constitutional protections from Comitatus Act in anticipation of post-election Civil War 2.0. And you see, and this is something that we've been, starting with the elders and the apostles, have been telling you that, was going to come here to Babylon the Great, to America pretty soon, was that this country is going to be ultimately divided. All right, and this is all the spirit of the Lord. This is all according to prophecy that, civil war and a great division in this society would take place, which is ultimately being done by the Heavenly Father so that this place could eventually, be destroyed and that, it can never come back together again. All right, and we see the with this whole, theater of the theater of war, which is taking place, which is, a lot of it is theatric, but a lot of it is real in nature. We see this whole, presidential situation going on, which is being very drama filled, which is being very, distracting. But, we know that eventually, it's going to lead to the effects that Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai wants, which is ultimately to divide this country beyond repair. And you see it already happening, you see a huge divide between Republican and Democrats. Shit, you even see, hey, this whole presidential debate is causing even a divide within the so-called black community. A divide between the so-called black man and the black woman. You even see that taking place with this whole political situation, which, for all the people that are caught up in it and emotionally, invested in this bullshit, they're all divided, You hear stories of the so-called, they even had Barack Obama clock come out talking shit against the so-called black man. Him trying to scold and, shame and talk, talk down upon the so-called black man. You see the black woman coming in talking her shit because the so-called black man, which is of the tribe of Judah, don't want to vote for Kamala Harris. That is causing division. That is causing issues and strife, and it's only going to continue to escalate. You see that causing rift between Republicans and Democrats, which is why we're going to eventually see the Egyptian verse. Let me get that real fast. I don't even think I had that queued up, but I'll get it anyway. Was it Isaiah 19? All right. See, and this is all taking place because this all, according to the will of the Lord. He wants this place to be divided. He wants this place to be, in such turmoil and chaos that, eventually it is going to be martial law. It is going to be situations that's going to brew up to where, cities, you're not going to be able to go from city to city. People are going to be at each other's neck. The Lord wants this place, America, to be divided beyond repair. You see, so it can further bring this place and so it can be flushed down the toilet, All right. And this is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2. And I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian, and they shall fight, everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. You see? And it says, in the spirit of Egypt. What's this Egypt? Is spiritually talking about America. Yes, we know it can be applied to ancient Egypt, and particular times in history where it's talking about Egypt. But we know that, it can be applied today to this spiritual Egypt, which is America, Babylon the Great. And it says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and wizards. See, and the Egyptians will I give over unto a hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts. And how that's going to play out is yet to be seen. And we hear Trump talking about, coming with a very fierce language. He's talking about rounding up a lot of you jakes, quelling the enemy from within, which is being referred to a lot of you migrants, a lot of you foreigners, a lot of you northern tribe Israelites. And we know eventually it's going to trickle down to you average American Israelites, because eventually at the end of the day, the way that this society is rolling, these elites want everybody to be looked at and seen as a domestic terrorist, which is why they're bringing all of this order out of the chaos, all of this confusion. And the DOD is putting these type of, unrighteous decrees and laws on the books, so that when all the chaos and all hell breaks loose, they're going to be at the head of it to try to bring this new world order out of all of this chaos. This is why you're seeing movies like Civil War be made, a lot of predictive programming, and things like this being put into place, because eventually, it's all going according to the plan of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. It says, in anticipation of rioting or even a second civil war. And I even hear Biden talking about, if Trump does win the presidency, he's not going to have an easy transition. All right. And it's days, 25 days, I think, or 15 days, something like that, until this election is up. And what they've been telling you is going to happen: mass casualty events, expect civil war, expect, particular things out of the ordinary to start happening. That's going to get crazy out here, to the point to where, I see them saying that they're going to bring the military here, but, I wouldn't put it past this devil if, he brings in, he brings this, gutting the Comitatus Act of 1878 and bring in foreign troops, dressed as American troops. You can't put it past this devil, you see. But we know that all things are going to end, not well here in this society, man. And this devil is a master of trickery and sorcery and lies and deception, man. So we know that, he's putting these things in on the books intentionally, because he knows that he's going to create particular situations that he thinks he's going to be in control of, to try to, bring in his new world order, to gain more control, and to ultimately, be able to use military force to round up dissidents, to round up people that are exposing him. Like I said, this is going to be an excuse to where he can bring in these digital identifications, to bring in this digital beast system, but it all must be done at a complete, it has to be brought in through chaos and calamity and all hell breaking loose. It says, in anticipation of rioting or even a second civil war following the upcoming election, and either way it goes, whoever wins, whether it's Kamala or President Trump, there's going to be, they know it's going to be rioting and it's going to be chaos on both sides, because they're getting these people very emotionally involved inside of this election, especially these Trump goers, man. Let them steal the election. Let them do something to where, the elections have to be postponed, and they found out some slick way to hand the presidency over to these Democrats and to Kamala, man. Hey, it's definitely going to go down, man. All right. These red-blooded Americans, all these people that are fed up, that are frustrated, hey, they're going to riot. They're going to be angry. They're going to take it out in a very physical manner. And it's only going to be, it's like a powder keg being ready to be lit. You see? It says the Department of Defense is preliminarily gutting the Comitatus Act of 1878 to allow for the U.S. military to execute law, i.e. martial law, on American soil. And like I said, this is why, I'm just speaking as a man. I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if this devil would not use these, he might bring in UN troops. He might bring in foreign troops, because you have executive orders on the book to where, they can bring in UN troops on the soil of America if things get that crazy and that out of control, because they're going to need a lot of these American soldiers to fight wars in other places over there, the South China Sea, over there in the Middle East. You got the situation with Ukraine and Russia. So, hey, the military, American military, is going to have to be spread very, very, in various places. It only, to me, it only makes sense that he would use this to bring in foreign troops here on the soil of America to impose the will of these elites. Because I really don't see the American troops coming in here and shooting and using lethal force on their own American citizens. That will have to be something used by foreign troops or troops that don't give a damn about America, that's here to take orders and get a paycheck, or even use some of these military age migrants that they could deputize and make, citizens and promise them, green cards and citizenship if they, volunteer for the job. But like I said, either way it goes or however it happens, whether it's American troops or UN troops, or they use these foreign, these migrants, military age migrants to do the job, we know that these things are going to take place. This prophecy is going to be fulfilled, as I'm going to show you. It says, as it is written, posse comitatus do not allow for any constitutional exceptions. The U.S. military is not supposed to be involved with law enforcement activities in any capacity whatsoever, and yet the Congress passed bill has been so watered down over the past 50 years or so that armed soldiers could soon become commonplace on the streets of America. Like I said, he said soldiers, who knows how they're amending these laws and making it so broad that, hey, it could be some fine print in there to where they could bring foreign troops. So we can't put that out. We can't scale that out of the possibility. It says the law allows only for express exceptions, and no part of the Constitution expressly empowers the president to use the military to execute the law, explains the Brennan Center above how posse comitatus is supposed to work. It says this conclusion is consistent with the law's legislative history. But remember, even Biden said that the Constitution is just a piece of paper. And these devils and these Democrats and the powers that be have been doing things outside of the Constitution, violating your constitutional laws, doing things that are against the law. You think, if it gets bad enough out here that they're really going to be held accountable to what is written? They're going to totally step all over it and do whatever the hell they want to do when all is said and done. Especially with the desperation and the anger and the wrath that is prophesied for this devil to come down with in these last days, knowing he have but a short time. You can't put anything past what this man is willing to do. Excuse me. All right. It says exceptions are part of a faith-saving compromise, not because they believe any existed. It says, despite all this, the DOD has decided that there are constitutional exceptions of posse comitatus. And because nobody with any power is willing to do anything to stop the DOD, especially these Democrats, especially, these brought and paid for individuals who are the head of these agencies, they've all been compromised. They've all been brought and paid for. They got a bunch of goons and paid off cronies in these positions. Hey, they're willing to do anything, man. They're going to do whatever they're told at the end of the day. And they have situations that are set up that'll be so dire and so bad that, like I read in the Isaiah 19 chapter, they're going to give this Egypt over into a cruel Lord. They might let Trump get in there. Let's say they let Trump get in there and things goes all bad and all horrible. What if they assassinate that guy while he's become president and they blow him away? And who's going to step into power? Who's going to be the ones that's going to allow somebody to step in and to take his place? You see, hey, you already know it's going to be given over into the hands of a cruel one. All right. And I'm just speaking. I'm not, saying these things particularly might happen, but we have to understand that, like I said, these devils are, hey, they're willing to do anything to try to get this new world order popping, man. So we can't put anything past these fools. Let me see something. It says the department has long claimed that the Constitution implicitly gives military commanders emergency authority to unilaterally use federal troops to quell large-scale, unexpected civil disturbances. And we know they got sleeper cells. Like I said, you got a lot of these militia groups. And nowadays with this technology and deep fakes and propaganda, hey, these devils can just create situations to where these laws can be enacted and they could do what they have to do. It says when doing so is necessary, a prior authorization by the president is impossible, the Brennan Center further says. It says in the past, the department also claimed an inherent constitutional power to use military to protect federal property and functions when local governments could not or would not do so. Right. They could have it to where all the police force can step down and nobody's going to end up, stopping the civil war and the riots and the burning down of cities and federal buildings. Hey, they're going to, tell the police to step down and they're going to bring in, the military, man. It says the use military to protect federal property and functions when local governments could not or would not do so. The validity of these claimed authorities have never been tested in court. It says, do you know that the U.S. Army is already violating Posse Comitatus by manning illegal alien migrant hotels in New York City? You see, so they've already violated that. Over there in the subway, they got those armed military guys, watching for the migrants that are doing all that crime over there in New York. So if they done it there, they'll do it everywhere here in America, man. You see? What else? Look at it. It says the DOD chipped away at what is arguably the last remaining power of Posse Comitatus with the recent implementation of Directive 5240-01, which appears to expand the power of the executive branch and in this case the Biden regime to weaponize the U.S. military against American citizens. Instead of only being allowed to deploy troops overseas to fight wars under the direction of Congress, the White House will now, it seems, be able to deploy troops to the streets of America to crack down on whatever nightmare is about to erupt as a result of the nation's irreparable political drive. You see, the following new provisions were implemented under Directive 5240-01. While assassination of Americans is strictly forbidden, the directive language allows for the lethal action to be used against Americans who are deemed as imminent threats. Remember, like in the movie Civil War, when he was blowing away those Chinamen, he was told to other Americans, what type of American are you? You see? And this is why, a lot of these migrants have been brought in. A lot of these villains, swelling gangs are doing all type of crazy shit. These smash and grabs. They're going to eventually have the power to deem everybody an imminent threat. And they're going to use the military to wreak havoc, summary executions, put in work, close down cities, shut down freeways until eventually, everybody's going to be labeled a so-called terrorist until you get your digital ID, until you, get willingly accept the new digital ID beast system and eventually be ID'd and eventually get your charagma to bring peace and safety back, to this whole society, man. You see, so all this shit you see happening with the political theater, all of these migrants, all of these sleeper cells, all of the chaos, all of the mass casualty events, explosions, blah, 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 all of this chaos they're about to create, it's all going to lead it to where they can bring in this digital beast system and deem everybody a terrorist until everybody can be identified as a good, safe American citizen by acquiescing to this digital beast system that they're going to implement. All right. It says any intelligence. It says the directive expands the definition of national security threats, aligning with the Department of Homeland Security broader definition of domestic terrorism threats. You see, and that is broad. It can be anybody. It can be anything. You can, if you say anything against the government, even if you're a Trump voter or a Trump supporter, or you're anti-GAY, or you've ever made a tweet questioning, the government, you could be deemed a domestic T. And now you can be rounded up, you can be questioned, you can be locked away indefinitely. All of your rights to bear arms, your right to free speech, your right to have an attorney, all your constitutional laws go completely out the window. See? It says any intelligence sharing that could result in lethal force being used must first be approved by the Secretary of Defense. However, component heads are still allowed to act immediately using lethal force for up to 72 hours before obtaining approval. Imagine waking up to discover that the U.S. military has quietly been granted the authority to assist in domestic law enforcement activities, including the use of lethal force against U.S. citizens in certain circumstances. You see? So, hey, man, we see where all this shit is headed. And it's all biblical prophecy. See, this is 2 Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. What is this? Civil war. When all hell breaks loose, when societal collapse happens, when this police state takes place, it's going to be complete and utter chaos and going crazy out here. It says, for there shall be sedition. What does sedition mean? An uprising against the government. You see, for there shall be sedition among men. Like I said, that can happen in many ways. Let them steal this so-called presidency and give it to Kamala Harris. Let them do something underhandedly to where they don't allow, they lock up Trump before the presidency, or, he gets assassinated before his fourth assassination attempt. They finally get him, and, this time they say they don't kill him, but they wound him very badly where he's in the hospital when the whole election is taking place. He's nowhere to be found, and he's on a ventilator somewhere, and accidentally, he ends up being dead, or they make Biden pass over drops out completely, and they let Kamala become the president because the real president, so-called real president, stepped down, and then they allow a certain thing to happen to where she can just, assume presidency indefinitely. See, that's going to cause sedition and uprising and all hell to break loose, man. It says, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor princes. Right. Let it get to that point to where, hey, their mayors, their governors, they're not going to be listening, to their mayors and their governors. They're not going to listen to curfews. People are going to be out here pissed off and angry and ready to fight. Some of these states are going to try to succeed. You see, and it's going to be complete and utter chaos, man. It says, in the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. See? So you think they're talking about, getting rid of posse comitatus because, they're just doing it just to be doing it? No, because a lot of these things are going to be organized. A lot of these things are being orchestrated, and they're putting particular things in place so that, this can happen. All right. Let me get this last scripture. I'm going to close this. This is Matthew chapter 12, verse 25 in the NLT. It says, Yahushua knew their thoughts and replied, any kingdom divided by civil war is doomed. You see, and that's what Babylon the Great is doomed. Like I just read in that second Ezra, the 15th chapter, this place is doomed. And these things that I'm reading, they're going to happen. It's just a matter of if. It's not a matter of if, just a matter of when and how it's all going to take place. And the Lord's going to reveal it all in the time to come. It says a town or family splintered by feuding will fall apart. All right. And that's where Babylon the Great, America, is headed. It says, and if Satan is casting out Satan, he is divided and fighting against himself. His own kingdom will not survive. And this place, Babylon, is not going to survive. See, this America, as you know it, is not going to survive. All right. And Babylon the Great eventually will be judged or will be destroyed. And this is just all, things that needs to happen so that prophecy can be fulfilled. And the Lord can ultimately put Babylon the Great and the rulership of Esau, Edom, in a position to be utterly obliterated and destroyed and taken. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. All praise, honor, and glory goes to Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai, for putting the spirit in me to do this lesson. Lord willing, you were edified. Shalom.